Hello viewers, my name is Sodiq from Scoop Tech Automation. Today we are going to discuss about control system components, PLCs, hardware they use. But firstly, we are going to start with the PLC hardware component. Now, what component made up a PLC? These are modules that usually reside in a PLC. The first component needed is the rack. That is, it holds all of the modules in an area called slot. Now, the first slot is typically the power supply module, which provides the necessary power in the PLC module. Now, the output voltage of the power supply, I'm talking of this power supply because this is the first component here. You can see I use this to analyze my slot. This is the first slot, which is the slot 1. Now, the output voltage of the power supply is always 24 volts DC. That is when I'm talking of the Siemens PLC. But when I'm talking of the Allen branded PLC, some Allen PLC uses 24 volts DC. Some uses 110 volts AC. Some also use 220 volts AC. But basically, the current that you use varies, which depends on the number of modules that you install or the number of components you want to use in the system. However, the second slot usually holds the CPU. The CPU is the brain of the system, and its job is to evaluate the input, process the logic in the program we supply, and energize the output based on the what? On that logic. After the CPU, we may have number of different input and output modules, depending on the number of signals, components that we want to monitor and control in the process. Then we will install the digital input module, followed by the analog input module in the next slot. Like I was saying, in your first slot, you will have your power supply module installed. While in the second slot, what you will install is your central processing unit. Don't forget, like I said again, the power supply module is the one that supplies the necessary voltage that is needed to power our entire control system. Now, then the CPU is the brain of the PLC, which helps to evaluate the input, and now based on the logic that we have imputed, that is what will determine the output. Now, the next slot entails the digital input, then comes the analog input. Now, as for the output within the system, we can install digital output for devices that receive digital signals like contactors, and analog output for devices that receives analog signals like proportional valves. So everything depends on the module or modules that we have selected, which are always between the 8 and 32 input or output terminals on the PLCs. Some applications require a particular signal for process with higher accuracy. These signals may not be connected to the standard input-output module, but instead require specialized module called the functional module. Now, or you can call it the FM module, or the FM, sorry. Now, FM process signals independent of the CPU, therefore provided higher It provided higher accuracy. In other words, we should be able to understand that another module that may be installed in the rack is called the communication processor, which is also referred to as the CP. It usually contains network ports for use in industrial network. Example, you can have your MPI, you can have your Profinet, you can have your Profibus. However, if additional communication ports are needed, that is when you call on for the communication processor. Now, in summary, we need to understand that these are the modules that typically we use in the control system. So, module selections are based on the type of architectural design we have for our control system project. For example, I told you the other time, the power supply, very, very important, followed by the CPU. Then comes the digital input, the analog input, the digital output, analog output. Then we have our function module, then we have the communication processor. This other side of the block is just showing how each component is being installed on the rack. In our next class, we are going to explain each of the components, their function on the rack, and the way they perform their normal activities in the control system. Thank you. So let's watch out for the next video. Bye.